Доброго дня, шановні учасники. Рівно 15:00 розпочинаємо нашу чергову лекцію в рамках науково-педагогічного стажування на базі Куявського університету, міста Влоцлавек, Республіка Польща. Всіх вітаю з початком нового навчального року. Відчувається відразу у всіх велике навантаження, початок року. Відповідно, збільшилася кількість обов'язків у науково-педагогічних працівників, відповідно, і сьогоднішня наша цифра станом на зараз у нас 34 особи, але я думаю, що осіб 10 приєднаються до нас протягом найближчого часу. Сьогодні аналізували разом з секретаріатом стан справ, вже зверстано і знаходяться на перевірці 2 збірника тест-конференції, зокрема з медичних наук та технічних наук. Триває верстка науково-педагогічного стажування в збірнику тест, які ви подавали з педагогіки та психології. Відповідно, починаючи з понеділка, будемо друкувати на базі поліграфічної бази видавничого дому Гельветика і, відповідно, готуються сертифікати. Все добре, 11 вересня, як і обіцяли, відбудеться розсилка по всім 3 напрямкам, по яким триває науково-педагогічне стажування. Хочу подякувати всім учасникам, які минулого разу в чаті залишили позитивні відгуки. Нам дуже було приємно з Жоанною їх читати. Ми навіть, якщо ви бачили, на сайті центру їх винесли в окремий розділ презентувати, що жодного критичного або негативного відгуку, на щастя, ми не почули після минулої лекції. Минулого разу я анонсував, що сьогодні дуже цікава тема про науково-педагогічні видання, наукові періодичні видання в Польщі. Відповідно, ще раз презентую головного доповідача Joanna Skiba, кандидат філологічних наук, керівник міжнародного відділу Куявського університету, відомий в Польщі дослідник дистанційної освіти та освіти дорослих. Сьогоднішня тема заявлена – аспекти академічного Польщі. Передаю слово Джоанні. Joanna, please speak.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope the beginning of September for you in Ukraine marks a good and successful start into the school and academic year, because for Poland, September the 1st is the first day of the school year starting under the new pandemic situation, and the academic year starts next month. We start on October the 1st, so we're still facing some time of preparations. Academic writing is, as you know and are aware of, is a very big topic for university life and for scholars. I had the pleasure to already conduct a very similar lecture, because I made some smaller changes to make it more attractive. But I had it in the end of May online for you. Today I'm going to talk about almost the same subjects, and the points of my presentation today are the new law in Poland under the new Constitution of Science, the methodology of gaining scientific points for academic writing, what are the most useful and popular internet resources on publishing, what are the most common journal types, how to find and where to find motivation to write, what makes an academic research paper and what makes it successful, and in general, what is academic writing. And also I'm going to share information where I find very good resources and which I can strongly recommend. Besides, I'm going to share some current news. Our university is going to apply for a new project. This is called Partnership for Digital Education. And we're going to hopefully become partners with the Center of Ukrainian and European Scientific Cooperation. So hopefully you will be able to join it. And the project will start in May next year and will last for 2 years. And definitely it will allow real exchanges, tutorials and academic sessions. And I think some of them will be devoted to academic writing sessions as well. As I mentioned cooperation, I also want to share and show to you the publishing books of internships that we do together with the Center of Ukrainian European Scientific Cooperation, devoted to different areas of sciences. So you are strongly encouraged and invited to join our common ventures. Going back to my today's speech, Polish law has changed under the Constitution of Science, which was started to be operating 2 years ago, and it introduced biggest and most important criteria on the scientific levels of activities. The first criteria, it's based on scientific or artistic level of conducted scientific activity, and the assessment of those scientific papers applies to all scientific articles like monographs, editorial monographs, and authorship chapters in monographs, as well as granted patents for inventions. And under this first criteria, the documents and materials that are assessed are the scientific articles published in scientific journals and in peer-reviewed materials from international conferences, and also scientific articles published in scientific journals, not included in the list of journals, and scientific monographs, which are published by publishing houses included in the list of publishers. And the second criteria, which was introduced by the Constitution of Science, are the financial effects of scientific research and development works, the area which is very new in science, but cannot be neglected. The financial effects are assessed on the basis of the amount of funds which are obtained for the research projects under the competitions which are organized by the European Union, by many foreign institutions residing in our country, and also by other scientific centers which are working nationally from Warsaw. The criteria of financial effects takes into account the commercialization of research and of developed results, as well as scientific work commissioned by entities outside higher education. This is also quite new in science, but is part of the market and global situation. So science becomes a marketable product. In the criteria of financial effects, the achievements for papers are projects. The projects involving scientific research and development were financed in the competition procedure by foreign institutions. Projects financed under the National Humanities Development Program, and commercialization of results of scientific research, development works, and know-how related to results. The third criteria is the impact of scientific activities on the functioning of society and the economy. The assessment of the impact of scientific activity on functioning of society is carried out on the basis of descriptions proving the relationship between the research and functioning of administration, healthcare, and culture. And when assessing this criterion, the so-called case studies arise that allow reliable measurement and assessment of this impact. The next stage are the points for publications, which are now very important in the scholar world. So the basic tool for determining the score for monographic publications is the ministerial list of publications, which offers all scientific monographs, both in Polish and in other languages. This list from the ministry contains 2 levels. Level 1 includes scientific publications that meet ethical and scientific publishing standards. And also there is level 2, which is based on the peer scientific monographs. The scoring is in the scientific monographs is based on disciplines not belonging to fields of humanities. It's the first group, where the score is 80 points. And for publications in the second level, the second level also stresses the internationalization, which I forgot to mention before. So level 1 is the scientific score, and level 2 is scientific score plus internationalization. So the publications from level 2 get 200 points. So this is 120 points higher than the first score. In disciplines which belong to fields of humanities and social sciences, the level 1, all articles are awarded 100 points, and for level 2, they are awarded 300 points. So as you can see, the internationalization, as the same as in Ukraine, is highly favored, and this is really what I'm always stressing this in my projects, and this cooperation, international cooperation of science is now so important. And I think it's easier now, although the pandemic situation stressed our daily work, it also allowed more opportunities to connect and to exchange information over the internet. It is important to see the list of publications which publish the peer-reviewed scientific monographs and this list is prepared by our Ministry of Science. It is done on the basis of lists prepared by the Science Evaluation Commission, so very strong relationship between these 2 institutions has to be indicated. And also there is then advisory team for the development of the scientific journals. So there are many official bodies working together to produce an official list of Polish scientific journals. To be on the list, the publisher needs to meet ethical and scientific publishing standards, and they apply to principles of publishing ethics aimed at preventing unfair publishing practices, in particular those consistent with the guidelines of the Committee of Publication Ethics, and it applies to establish scientific review procedure for all scientific monographs or monographs edited by the scientific community. What are the online sources of information on academic publications? Information about publications of Polish university employees on the internet is available in many resources. Some publications are available in the original form, like books or articles. They can be found on publishers' websites. They can be found on full-text databases like Science Direct. And they are searchable in many different ways. Such access is most reliable, but even at this level, information users are sometimes trapped. As you may know, you may find the same article which contains quite different information, or sometimes you are charged to access it, which should not be happening. If the article is free of charge in one place, I guess it should be available free in other sources. In addition to primary sources, there are many secondary sources on the internet, like copies or modified versions. They may be found in institutional or domain repositories, or sometimes on authors' websites, or in various information services like libraries. Sometimes are even available illegally, which we should be aware of. And often the authors themselves publish different versions of their publications. on profiles like Google, Scholar, or ResearchGate. And these publications are automatically added to the online sources. And as a result, it happens that some articles may be available in different ways and in different versions. That's what I mentioned. That is why scientists willingly use reliable resources, the databases and repositories created by reliable institutions. The most popular bibliographic and abstract commercial databases are Web of Science and Scopus. These two gather information about publications in magazines and conference materials, and these are all indexed in these databases. The resources of both databases differ significantly in terms of size and scope. However, in both Web of Science and Scopus, you can find publications of Polish writers, Polish scientists from specific universities. Those databases are available to all scientific and research institutions and academic institutions in Poland, and they form the virtual library of science, which I can also recommend for future reference. We also have a number of open access publications and open access. For example, it's Springer Open Choice Program, which has for many years enabled scientific writers who are affiliated with the Polish academic institutions to publish articles in their journals. So they use the publishing house called Springer Open Choice and Springer Open Access under license. Publication costs under the program are centrally covered by the virtual science library, which I have just mentioned. There is also the new ministerial list of journals, and this is based on the large-scale interdisciplinary international databases they have the index of high-quality publications. Such two leading databases are, of course, the Web of Science and Scopus. The international nature of the databases doesn't mean they do not include Polish language items. They do contain many of them. The prestige and high publishing standards of international databases will have always has a positive impact on Polish scientific publishing market. And until now, the pursuit of publications generated a flood of new titles. I guess it happens globally. Every year, about 200 new scientific journals are published, and the life cycle is like about 2 or 3 years. Often they had only local significance and didn't pretend to join any wider communities. In addition, about 60% of Polish scientific journals have publication delays due to the lack of sufficient number of articles for publications. And I guess all these problems are international problems, also those which you find in Ukraine. As I said, I have many resources which I use as I have been an active teacher for 20 years now at university level. So I have always been on the digital market, as I may say. Well, I want to share some content with you, which I should have been doing over Zoom, maybe in some other way, but I will try to show you a very short film, which is a very good introduction to academic writing. Hope it works fine today. Just maybe 1 minute of this, just to show you something interesting.
Hi, I'm Ellen.
Just a moment.
In this video, I'm going to talk about some general features of academic writing that you need to be familiar with if you want to succeed in your own writing at university. First of all, you need to consider that writing is communicative. In all forms of communication, there is a sender who transmits a message to a receiver. In academic writing, that message will be a fact-based argument, and in order to successfully deliver this, You need to know who you're writing for and what you can expect your target reader to already know. In other words, identifying your audience is crucial. Another central feature of academic writing is that it's objective, which means you should avoid biased language and generalizations, and that you shouldn't bring in your personal preconceptions or opinions. An academic essay about, say,
so this is just an example of what I have found. This is a very interesting tutorial, or a series of tutorials from the renowned Swedish University of Lund. This is the title is "What is Academic Writing?" and I think they are doing a good job. So the Lund University in Sweden has a very good course which is available online and on YouTube. This is one of the sources of reference, but you can go to that material later. Talking about the most common journal types, I would like to give some general characteristics of what we have in Poland right now and how this market is divided. First, we have the research paper. This is the most common type of academic paper. When academics talk about a paper, they usually mean a research paper. They occupy a prominent place and a large portion of the space on the market of journals. Moreover, they are the key incentive behind why all journals really exist. The key characteristic of the research paper is that it's a report of original research findings on a well-defined research question. The research is usually analytical, which builds on the hypothesis using an experimental approach, which can differ between disciplines of natural, medical, social sciences, or humanities. The research that led to the paper was conducted by the author. The paper can first be completed once the research has been completed. So it is the main example of primary research literature as it refers to research which has not been published before. The second type of paper is the methods paper. This type of paper is dedicated to presenting a new experimental method, test, or procedure. The methods discussed must be completely new and give a better version of the established methods. The core focus of the paper is on presenting the new method, not so much the result that can be achieved from it. The structure and length of the methods paper is similar to the research paper. The third type of paper is the review paper. This paper presents a comprehensive overview of the state of the art of the research conducted in a specific field. It summarizes the key primary research literature in the field, which can include about 50 references or sometimes even more. It also indicates research gaps and possible directions for the future research. Major themes, theories, problems, and debates and trends may be highlighted and discussed. The fourth type of paper is the short communication. This paper includes relevant research findings that necessitate or benefit from rapid publication. It is a type which is suitable for time-sensitive research and time-sensitive disciplines. It can include anything that the journal editor considers of great interest to the journal's readership. The fifth part is the discussion paper. This paper allows for a discussion of a relevant topic from the perspective of the author. It refers to examples from existing literature without reviewing this body of language. The paper states the author's opinion on the topic presented. The sixth part, the data paper. This type of paper is dedicated to describing data, which sets and observes innovative research and theoretical developments. The paper usually provides insight or examples of a relevant scientific application and demonstrates the usefulness of the data. Number 7 is the theory paper. This paper doesn't report empirical research of the kind presented in the research paper. It can, however, draw evidence and support from empirical research. A theory paper introduces and discusses ideas and principles, either new or established, that are related to a specific field of study or body of knowledge. Number 8 is the case study. This paper type reports a case in which an individual, place, event, or phenomenon is the subject of the study. The goal of case studies is to make other researchers aware of the possibility that a specific phenomenon might occur. The paper is based on observational study. In contrast to typical empirical experiments, where the researcher intervenes or manipulates the conditions of the environment, this paper reports real-life, unaltered conditions as they are observed. Number 9, the educational paper. The main focus of this paper is to give instructions on how a method or a procedure or a technique or knowledge can be applied and implemented. Whereas a methods paper aims to give insights into the application, the educational paper goes one step further. It aims at providing concrete instructions for the reader's guidance on the acquired knowledge. And number 10 is the book review. This paper type is a short contribution where authors provide a critical and unbiased evaluation of a current book that has been determined to be of interest to the general audience. Readers get a summary of the book's content and an assessment of its originality and value by a scholar who is an expert in the field of study. If you come across a new or interesting book in your field, you can contact the journal editor and suggest a review of the book yourself. I think this is a general division, but it's also very practical and globally recognized. Looking for some additional material for today's meeting, I have come across a very interesting book, and this is the title, and I think you should make a note of that. I will include it in the email. The book is called Academic Writing, a Handbook for International Students. This is what it actually looks like. And the book is written by Stephen Bailey, the scholar from British universities. The whole book can be obtained as a PDF, in PDF format, and it can be uploaded on your computers. It contains not only theory, and I think it really is not a theoretical book. It's a book which is very practical, and I think also for your students, if you teach any kind of writing, and I think all scholars do teach writing, because in the research process we give assignments to students, we interact, so we should be teaching the writing skills, which are quite often neglected. I found this book full of very informative material and a lot of practical aspects like exercises, as we all need to write essays and reports, not only students, but also scholars. It is very clearly organized. It explains the writing process from start to finish, and each stage is demonstrated and practiced. It allows to select suitable resources, the reading, note-making, planning, and proofreading. It also allows teachers and students to find the help that they really need. Each part is divided into short sections, and they contain examples, explanations, cases. It can be used for classroom and self-study. I think it's even better for the classroom. This edition is very popular because the course builds on the success of earlier editions, and it responds to suggestions from the students before. This is also important that it has a companion website. It offers more practice to the course book, and it includes all answers that you may need when you give assignments to your students, or even for self-checks. So as I said, Academic Writing, a Handbook for International Students, is something like an encyclopedia or a very good start especially in academic writing in English, because it's somehow different. For example, Polish academic writing and English academic writing is slightly different. I mean, in style and methods. And I remember my student years, I had to first learn the process, what the English academic article and journal that can be included in a journal looks like. It looks different than Polish system. Anyway, talking about international writing and the writing as such, one of the aspects is motivation to write. There are some points which I want to focus on. It's the first one is we need to remember what we write about and why we write. What motivates us to stick to our ideas? What is the pressure coming from the forces that we think about? Why we want to write papers, or do we have to write them? Or probably it's a bit of both. We want to write and we have to write. Do we write because we want to have some output for our research? We want a publication that we can share with others. We want to produce a publication to report on our academic work and claim the originality of our ideas. We also, the second point is we need to find a good writing spot. Where do we usually write? In our office, in a library, or at home? Where does it feel easy and comfortable? We should look for some space where we can be productive, where we can sit and be by ourselves. When we find a writing spot, we should not worry about being interrupted. For example, if it's our office, then others may just come up for a coffee or a chat, and some people just hide in the library. So point 3 is escape from disturbances. If you sit down in your office and are about to start writing, you know how difficult it can be to say no to a colleague who comes and asks for a coffee break, for example. And it's very easy to say yes and stop writing. The best writing spot doesn't help if you are faced
Что ж такое? У меня пропал звук.
То Zoom вибило, треба було ще раз перевести.
Куда?
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, yes? Okay.
Наконец-то.
Yes, it shows how technology works. Yes, this is real life online teaching. As you see, my name now is Joanna Skiba. This is my daughter's name. Let's leave this way because it will take a lot of time to change it. Anyway, I continue, yes. So I said we should escape the disturbances. We should define what we write about. Do you know already what you want to write about? Do you prefer to sit in your writing spot for days and days? And since writing is a developmental process, sometimes it helps just to get started with this. Writing itself brings a lot of clarity about what it could be a good topic and what couldn't be a good topic. An empty page looks so blank, it looks threatening, and whatever words you start with may be absolutely important. It feels as if the first words or sentences can be very meaningful, so don't focus so much on the empty page, just get going. Maybe it's a point I should start this meeting today, because in fact it opens a bigger discussion. The question is, what is an academic research paper? An academic paper is not a social commentary. It's not an opinion. It's not a blog. An academic paper should begin with a thesis. The writer of the academic paper aims to persuade readers on the idea or a solution to a problem, and it should be based on evidence and not on personal opinion. Academic writing should present the reader with an informed argument. To construct an informed argument, you must first try to sort out what you know about the subject, and you have to distinguish this from what you think or feel about a subject. You can begin by posing a question that will lead to your idea, in which case your idea will be the answer to your questions. Or you can make a thesis statement. Or you can do both. You can ask a question and immediately answer the question that you will include in your essay. The research process is not simply collecting data, evidence, or facts. Instead, the research process is about investigation, asking questions and developing answers through serious critical thinking and thoughtful reflection. Most research involves at least a survey or a questionnaire which contains opinions from a reasonably sized sample of relevant participants. Going through the elements of the academic paper. And we need an abstract first. The abstract contains a short summary of the article, as well as the description of the objective, the method, the research, and conclusion of the study. We also need the keywords here, or the subject words, which identify the contents of the article. The abstract is about 300 to 500 words. The full paper contains about 5,000 words and consists of the introduction. This briefly describes the focus of the overall paper and the main interests. It highlights background information or issues necessary to understand the directions of the paper. And the evaluator might not be from the field of our study. The introduction should define the key terminology and should finish with a thesis statement. Remember about the research method and research material. The methodology and methods ought to be reasonable for and appropriate for what is being studied. We should identify the methods used to identify and locate sources used for selecting the sources to be analyzed. The details should be sufficient so that the research process can be assessed, reproduced by future researchers. The results in the academic paper. It contains the important data that is given textual form, preferably using tables and figures, so it has to be attractive graphically. Even the unexpected or negative results should be presented. Conclusion, this is the final parts of the academic paper. It should restate the thesis from the introduction in different words, and it should briefly summarize each main point found in the body of the paper. Finally, the references. All documents mentioned in the article in our paper should be included in the bibliography so that the reader is able to refer to original sources. If we make any judgment about something in academic writing, there is an expectation that we will support the opinion by linking to what a publisher or the author has previously written. So this is referencing and citations. Citing the work of other authors is central in academic writing because it shows that we have read the literature, we understood the ideas, and have integrated those issues into our assignment paper. The importance placed on referring to other authors' work is reflected in elaborate referencing conventions, and it's, I think, not only good manners, but it's also obligation in our morals. The general, so I'm concluding with more general aspects. The question is, what is academic writing? Academic writing is clear, concise, it's focused, structured, and backed up by evidence. Its purpose is to help the reader's understanding. It has a formal tone and style. It has to be complex, but doesn't require a lot of long sentences or complicated vocabulary. Each subject discipline will have certain writing conventions, vocabulary, type of discourse that we have to be familiar with before we start the writing process. However, there are some general characteristics of the academic writing that can be found in all disciplines, like be concise. In formal academic writing, it is important to be concise, meaning using short sentences and precise sentences. Maybe not short sentences, but condensed. It helps the reader to understand the points. We should only include one idea per sentence. Keep sentences to a reasonable length, not more than 25 words. We should avoid repetition. We should make arguments. We should show and express the viewpoint and answer the questions that have been set. Our argument can help to plan the structure of the work and guide to find evidence which we need to support the main idea. We should make sure that the argument runs throughout the writing and everything is included and is relevant to our point. We should structure the argument clearly. We should guide the reader through the argument in a logical way. We should think about the questions that the reader would like to ask. We should present both sides of the debate, which is, I think, a crucial part in academic writing. Not only our thoughts, but also the theory and evidence supporting both sides of the situation. When compiling the bibliography, we should make sure that we use selected sources which demonstrate our information and we demonstrate our ability to identify arguments. Finally, the issue of plagiarism, which is, I think, one of the burning problems in the scientific world right now. In Poland, it is dealt with severely. We have many search engines, all the works of our students before they take the final exams are searched against plagiarism, and it's obligatory. And if there are any scholars who are suspected of plagiarism, they are all subject to investigations. If they are found guilty, some possible penalties may also include permanent withdrawal from university. Then there have been cases in Poland when professors have lost their titles because they have been proved guilty in that case. I guess we have to be quite severe with this, because when it's very easy right now, and we see the students writing any academic paper, they may refer to any Google, any search engines, and they can produce tons of academic papers which are not really their own work. And we should have, I think, a policy at a department or a university how we deal with those cases. I guess it has to be clear, or maybe more general. If it's done without any control or any the general policy, it will be very hard to harness the problem. Finally, concluding, how to get started with the paper. It's not easy. It's a tough work sometimes. There are so many excuses, and some of them are, I had no time for writing. I cannot write in my office because it's too noisy. I was busy with some other work. I had so many other things to do. I can only write during the night. I can't start writing because my page is empty. I just want to finish this paper before I start a new one. I have so many emails. I'm not in the mood. I'm too tired. I don't like working online, for example, and doing my online research, and so on and so on. There are so many good excuses, but I think the best is just to stop producing them and just start writing, which I wish you a lot of successful academic writing. If you have any questions, you can send them to my colleagues and I will be happy to answer them. I will email the 2 things which I presented today, the short film on YouTube by the Swedish University, which I can highly recommend. And as I said, this is a series of online lessons on writing and very practical. And also this book by Stephen Bailey, which includes a lot of exercises and activities to practice together with a companion website, which has a lot of support and lots of academic work. So anyway, I want to thank you and want to invite you to another lecture next Wednesday, which will be on the issue of lifelong learning, which is also very interesting. Thank you very much for today.
Thank you very much, Joanna. Шановні учасники, щиро просимо за технічний збій, який стався під час лекції. Обов'язково наступного разу виправимо, щоб його не відбувалося. Дякуємо досвідченим учасникам, які, я так розумію, вже не один раз викладали своїм студентам. Треба просто було повторно нажати посилання і приєднатись. Дуже тішить цифра. Найбільше на сьогодні було 60 осіб. Тобто, якщо минулого разу 90, то сьогодні 60. Дві третіх відвідали знов нашу лекцію. Щиро вам дякую. Так само, як Джоанна, запрошую на наступну, яка так само відбудеться в наступну середу о 3 годині. Тематика лекції заявлена «Природа освіти дорослих в інноваційній економіці». Це дослідження, яке Джоанна вивчає вже протягом останніх 5 років, і це найбільш топова тема Джоанни. Щодо матеріалів, які анонсувала Джоанна, то ми зараз оперативно їх розійшлемо на електронні адреси, які вказували у заявках під час заповнення анкет на сайті Центру україно-європейського співробітництва. Всім дякую за увагу і сподіваюсь, більшість з вас зустріти через тиждень. Дякую, до побачення.
Дякую.
Дякую.
Дякую. Зараз дописую.